How to cure depression. Depression really is a modern age disease. If we take a look at this graph here, we can see that the average rate for depression for the generation of people who are currently over the age of 60 is 10%, which when you think about it is pretty darn high. However, if you look to the left, each of these lines represents another generation. The generation of people who are currently 45 have a rate double that of the 60-year-olds generation. The rate of depression is 20%. And if we take a look to the far left, the generation that is currently around the age of 25, which is most of you guys, is already at 25%. So if we assume this line continues at the rate it is, it's estimated that 1 in 2 people will have experienced depression by the age of 60. That's half of the population. There's definitely an issue here. And it's very apparent that this issue is caused by the massive changes in society today, because the generation of people who are currently 60 years old lived a very different life from you guys. They had no access to the internet, no smartphones, there were no forms of social media like Facebook and Instagram, there was no way to order things right to your front door. It's clear that depression is caused by the sudden change in environment. So what exactly can we do to cure depression? Well, a professor by the name of Stephen Lardy dedicated his entire career to figuring out this question. He and his team conducted dozens of studies and came to a conclusion. There are 6 things you need to work on in order to cure your depression. These 6 things are the results of the massive amounts of change we've undergone in the past couple of decades. So let's begin. Number 1 is physical activity. Physical activity is something we used to do a lot of. If you think about it, not too long ago, we were busy out in the fields, tending to our crops all day, or we were in the woods hunting for food. On average, we used to exercise for at least 4 hours a day. Now think about your own life. How many hours are you exercising per day? Most people with office jobs have virtually no exercise. This is a huge difference. But just how important is exercise in regards to treating depression? Well, researchers compared Zoloft, which is one of the leading pharmaceutical drugs on the market right now, with aerobic exercise. In this case, it wasn't even a lot of exercise. It was only 30 minutes of brisk walking, which is essentially speed walking, 3 times a week. The patients who were prescribed the exercise did just as well as those who took the medication. Funny enough, the patients on Zoloft were found to be 3 times more likely to become depressed again after a 1-year follow-up. One of the reasons why researchers think exercise is so effective is because of what it does to your brain. When you exercise, important neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin have increased activity levels. These same neurotransmitters cause depression when they are at low levels, and these are the same neurotransmitters all of those antidepressants out there are targeting. So why take any of those drugs when you can just exercise and have the same result without any of those nasty side effects, and on top of that, have a healthier, better looking body? Number 2 is omega-3 fatty acids. The supplement community is often split between which supplements you should take. However, it's almost universally accepted that omega-3 fatty acids, which usually comes in the form of fish oil, is a must-have supplement. Hell, even some of the most famous Olympic swimmers were asked if they could take just one supplement for the rest of their lives. Almost all of them responded with fish oil. But why exactly are omega-3 fatty acids so beneficial? To understand this, we have to understand our body's relationship with these essential fats. These 2 fats are called essential fats because we are unable to produce them on our own. We must get them from outside sources. Now, omega-6 fats are pro-inflammatory, while omega-3 fats are anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s are found in grains and seeds, animals that eat them or are fed them, and especially fast food, which is cooked in them. Omega-3s, on the other hand, are found in grasses, plants, algae, and the animals that eat them, such as fish and free-range animals. The ideal balance for humans of omega-6 to omega-3s should be anywhere from 1:1 to 3:1. This is the balance that most of our ancestors were able to maintain with their natural-based diets. But when researchers take a look at the ratio in modern-day Americans, they found that our ratio is a whopping 17:1. That's crazy. This means that the average American is heavy on the inflammatory side, and that's never a good thing. Because if you take a look at all the major diseases that plague the modern world, like cancer, heart disease, allergies, they're all technically inflammatory diseases. So with this knowledge, scientists hypothesized that maybe if you started supplementing omega-3s, you can fix your ratio and combat all of these problems. They conducted dozens of studies and found that not only did people who suffer from depression feel a lot better, but this supplementation also helped with a variety of other diseases like the ones we just mentioned. They found that the ideal dosage for those who have depression or want to prevent depression is 1000 to 2000 mg EPA fatty acid, which is one of the acids in omega-3s. Something very important to note is that if you do decide to purchase fish oil supplements, you must refrigerate them or else they will oxidize and essentially become toxic for your body. You also have to make sure that the brand of fish oil you are purchasing uses some method to purify the oil, as the majority of fish nowadays are farm bred and contain many toxins. Number 3 is sunlight. Sunlight is very important for 2 reasons. The first reason is fairly well known, and it deals with a special little vitamin called vitamin D. The vitamin D comes from your skin when it is exposed to sunlight and is primarily responsible for things like your bone health, your immune system, and your muscle health. However, researchers have also found that a lack of vitamin D will cause a variety of problems such as cancer, diabetes, and especially mental health. Vitamin D is actually becoming a very big problem nowadays because so many of us are spending more and more time indoors. In fact, over 40% of people nowadays have a vitamin D deficiency to some degree. That's a lot of people. So that's reason number 1 to getting more sunlight. Reason number 2 is something that you wouldn't really expect. See, there's something very special about sunlight that normal indoors light cannot provide for us. Sunlight is many times brighter than indoors light. And it turns out that our bodies need sunlight in order to set our circadian rhythms right. This is essentially the body's internal clock, and what it does is it makes sure that you feel tired at the right time, and make sure that you get certain hormones at the right time, and it makes sure you feel sleepy at the right time. All of these problems have been shown in studies to be a direct link to depression. Imagine feeling tired all day and being unable to sleep. These are common problems that most people with depression have. The only problem is that this clock needs to be adjusted all of the time. If you were to lock yourself in an empty room with no window and no light, your body's clock would start malfunctioning. You'll think it's day when it's night, and your hormones will be all over the place. We need natural, bright sunlight at least once a day in order to set these clocks right. Research suggests simply walking outside when the sun is high for just 10 minutes can properly adjust your circadian rhythm and combat all of these potential side effects. Number 4 is healthy sleep. Researchers found that disrupted sleep was one of the most potent triggers for depression. They found that people who slept at extremely abnormal times that differed every single day were more prone to developing depression. This means that if you're the type of person who stays up all night watching shows or playing video games, you fall into this category. Healthy sleep translates into 7 to 8 hours of sleep, with some people being rare exceptions. One of the big complaints that you guys probably have are, well, it takes me forever to fall asleep, so I can't really control how much sleep I have. Well, there are a couple of simple tips to combat this. Number 1, don't use a computer or phone an hour before you plan on going to sleep, as it prevents the production of melatonin, which is the hormone that makes you sleepy. Number 2, only use your bed for sex and sleep. This programs your brain to associate it with only sleep. Number 3 is to do activities during the day. The ideal day, which is something that our ancestors had, was packed with activities, so by the time it was bedtime, they were able to fall asleep very easily. Number 5 is anti-ruminative activity. Researchers found that the more we ruminate, which is essentially thinking about the past, the more likely we are to get depressed. You might think, well, it's perfectly normal to think about your past a lot, isn't it? Well, in small quantities, it's fine, but with the uprising of technology and the internet, more and more people are spending more time alone. The problem with spending time alone is that you tend to ruminate a lot. You think about something embarrassing that happened over a year ago. You think about how you used to get bullied in the 5th grade. It's these types of thoughts that can bring you into depression if they are repeated enough. In order to combat this, researchers suggest that you find engaged activities to partake in. And this covers a wide spectrum of things such as any social gathering like clubs, sports, and parties. And this also includes any solo engaging activities like working on your arts and your projects. The great thing about finding engaging activities is that they're exciting enough that you don't really have time to think about the past. And if they are engaging enough, by the end of the day when you're about to go to sleep, you won't spend an hour in bed rolling around thinking about that time so-and-so said something mean to you. You should be tired enough that your mind will be quiet and you quickly fall asleep. Number 6, social connection. The 6th and final factor is probably the most important. It's social connection. See, we humans are social creatures. We've always stuck in groups. What made us so durable as a species was our ability to work as a team and overcome any obstacle. This level of teamwork meant humans used to spend the majority of their days with other humans. This is not the case anymore. In fact, half of Americans report having no close friends. There are countless studies that support the idea that having a strong social network is vital for a healthy life. In fact, a recent study conducted by the University of Michigan found that bonding with other humans releases certain certain hormones that reduces stress and anxiety significantly. Researchers have also found that social isolation will literally cause your brain to shrink. Socializing is simply that important. One of the main reasons I believe social connection is such a big problem nowadays is due to a lack of face-to-face interaction. We spend so much time on social media communicating, but we barely spend any time face-to-face. The hormones produced in an online social media interaction is significantly different than the ones produced face-to-face. Humans need to be face-to-face in order to build long-lasting trust and a deep relationship. Socializing and making friends is something that requires tons of practice and tons of calibration. Nowadays, we can hide behind screens and talk via text, so the ability to interact with someone face-to-face is a skill that is rarely ever practiced. Luckily for you, it's my job to teach you as much of these skills as possible, which is why I have tons of videos on these subjects that I will link to in the description below. And that's it. These are the 6 factors you have to keep in mind in order to combat your depression. These 6 factors have been shown time and time again to work, so I'd highly advise you to take them very seriously. If you found value in this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon for more weekly videos. For those of you that want to learn more about building healthy social networks and improving your social skills, check out this playlist right here.